So this game's Renekton versus Azir or Galio. One of the two. We'll find out in a little bit here. We'll change the fog of war once again to blue side so I can only see what they can see. And we'll speed this up. Once again, starting off, I do this a lot as well. So it's a really bad habit that I do because when I'm streaming, I try to keep as much uptime on what I'm doing. Just to in between games, like go AFK, go stretch and whatnot, and then I end up sometimes being late to my game. It's not a good habit to get into. If your team wants to invade, it's always better that you're there. You may get yourself an advantage if you go in for that invade, or if you're watching the jungle, you may prevent the enemy team from getting an advantage. Anything that gets you or anyone on your team ahead or puts someone else on the enemy team behind is an advantage, and losing an opportunity to do that simply because you weren't at your computer is rather unacceptable. But like I said, I do it all the time out of bad habits. Watching on the tower here, you could just as easily stand there until the minions get in lane, except that would actually give your team knowledge and vision. Let's see here. So it is Galio top lane. Yoink. There we go. Switch those around. So Galio versus Renekton. I think this lane would be pretty in Renekton's favor. So getting what I like to do if I'm trying to pressure in lane is get a few minions killed low. Missed that minion right there. Got to be careful. Get a few minions low and whatnot, and then stop pushing it. It'll slowly push up towards them, but you'll always have that level advantage because you're backing them off the minion wave. Getting level 2 first in lane is exceptionally strong in top lane, especially on someone like Renekton. That's actually surprising. I don't think Galio was expecting that. Very rarely do you level up stun first on Renekton, just because the Q is going to let you do free harass. It'll let you get minions that you otherwise would have missed. And if you're going to go, if they're playing really safe, you might never be able to get that stun off. Hitting that 1 Q not empowered on Galio, not worth missing a minion. The farm was going well to start, but once again, 4 minions out of the first 12. Deja vu of the last lane. It was some good harass onto Galio. That's good. Both characters have ignites. So there's no teleport to reset the lane. However, yeah, there's just a whizzing way too many minions. Oh, he pulled a SickMotion and missed the tank minion as well. All right, he's dead. That ignite or the flash was unnecessary.
First blood.
Flash was unnecessary, but you never know. Galio blew a flash as well. I'm not sure if that's because Renekton flashed or because it was trying to flash to put out the ignite, which seems to be a common occurrence. What I would have done here, not saying it would have been right, it would have been awfully greedy. Go and place a ward in this tri-bush just to buy you the extra couple seconds to push down these 3-4 minions. That had been 3-4 minions worth of farm, which would have bought you a ward if you wouldn't be able to afford one. And it would have pushed up this minion wave to the tower faster. It's still going to get most of them dead to the tower, but it would have got them dead faster, so this lane could have reset closer into the middle rather than freezing near the tower. So what did Renekton buy? Another longsword and boots and a stealth ward. The boots aren't necessarily needed in a melee versus melee early. In a range versus melee, I like to have the boots because if the melee tries to engage onto me, I can kite them around. In a melee versus range, I like to get boots early because then I can get onto the range and start trading with them, because generally a melee will out-trade a range as long as you get into range, which is hard because you have lower auto attack range. But in a melee versus melee, it's sometimes nice to have the boots, but I think more of an advantage could have been gained if buying, for example, I didn't see the exact gold, maybe another longsword. In the option of, the longswords build into a lot of stuff. 2 longswords to a brutalizer, 1 longsword to a time int, 2 longswords to a hydra, could build a wit's end, or not a wit's end, sorry, wow. A hex drinker, that's going to be another longsword. So that's why you see a lot of top lane physical champions just building the swords on swords build, because they're going to build into a lot of stuff and they're really cheap, so you can just buy them in parts. So good damage there. Didn't lose any minions. That's the important part of that trade. He was able to trade on the Galio without losing anything out of it. Okay. So right here, good conscious warding However, to place that ward, missed 2 minions that could have been gotten with an extra 2 seconds worth of time. And let's go back here. I'll just show you why that could have been better. Jarvan's in that bush right now. He's faking the back. Just kidding. He doesn't actually go back. So Jarvan's in that bush right now, and this is right where Galio goes toward, or Renekton goes toward. Bunch of minions here. If you have a big minion wave pushing up, it's going to push into their tower whether you clear it or not. He is leaving these minions that he could have just got all of those, pushed that up within like 3 or 4 seconds to go and ward right here. The ward being right there is not better than being in the tri-bush in this scenario because he knows no one's coming through river because Jarvan was just walking down river. Use your teammates to give you information to where would be the best time to ward or if you have to ward. In this, you always have to ward, but in this scenario, it wouldn't have hurt at least to place the ward there. If placing the ward there, completely different story because that would have given vision that you wouldn't have known if someone was coming. But to place the ward right there, when there's no way that anyone would have been there, unless they came around right there, in which case would be just be more effective to push it to try anyway, and missed I think 3 or 4 minions right there. I think it could have just been done more efficiently there, but that's just over efficiency. Just another thing I'm pointing out. So at this point, if Galio wants to go back, let him. Alright, Galio's back. Push this lane up ASAP. I'd be blowing all skills. Don't need that extra rage when Galio's... You're going to lose the rage anyway, so that's really good. That tower shot doesn't even really matter. Was able to get the tower wave up to the tower. That's really important. That was good play. Getting the wave up to the tower denies Galio all of those minions. The faster you get it to the tower, the faster it'll get off of the tower. For example, if there was a way that he could have pushed it up 1 or 2 seconds faster, the lane would reset right there. And that's generally where you want it. Once it resets to right there, you don't actually have to push it up to the tower again. Just hit Q, get it there. And now this next wave will reset right into the middle of the lane. And at that point, you can start to deny and control the wave. 32 CS to Galio's 16. Galio's wasting a lot of mana, and it's not doing anything. Renekton's able to heal it back up with his Q, and he's able to go in and punish Galio when he's So Galio's not making very good use of mana. Auto-attacking the wave down, pushing the wave up is a super aggressive way to play, and it can end up denying your opponent if they have no idea how to farm on tower. However, it's not always the right way to play. He's not able to deny Galio if Galio's safely farming on his tower. If you're denying them by them going on their tower, chances are their champion's not very good at tower farming, or the player themselves is not very good at tower farming. You're not always going to be able to rely on that, especially as you get higher up in the rankings. You're going to, yeah, right there, that was an ineffective trade. Use the second dash, which spent all of the rage, when he could have just used the first dash, hit him with a Q, because the Q has increased range on the empowered Q, dash back to the minion wave, and not do that much. But yeah, you don't need to push up. It's hard with Renekton even if you're trading on them and not trying to push the minion wave, because your skills are all AoE. Trading on the minion wave right here is very, very risky. Using both dashes to go in for a trade, luckily he had his ult, both dashes to go in for a trade means that you're stuck there. And if you get stuck on a minion wave, sometimes that can be helpful because the minions will actually heal you. But if you're using a non-empowered Q, they're not going to heal you as much, and they're probably not going to die. So then you're fighting them on the minion wave. It's going to be not very effective, especially when Galio has that shield. Also, going in for that trade, got all those minions low, didn't quite kill them, but got Renekton low enough that he couldn't go in and farm them. He just denied himself a lot of that. That was nothing Galio played the trade right, but nothing Galio did right. That was a mistake that Renekton made that Galio was able to punish. You want to not give your opponent those openings. Oh, my coffee. Okay. So this is another wave. That's about 2 waves almost that he missed from that bad trade, that he wouldn't have had to go back otherwise. And just timing the minions. It gets harder to time CS, especially with a champion with a weaker auto attack. Renekton doesn't have the weakest auto attack, so it's not as hard as, say, someone like a mage, like Ryze or something, that just hits like a wet noodle and has a slow auto that you have to get used to. But when there's more of your minions shooting their minions, you have to line up that damage a lot better. Also, last game. This is the second in the series of 2 lessons for Hunkleberry. Both games playing Renekton. One thing I neglected to do last game that I'll do this game, and I'm assuming it would be the same, is the leveling path. I'll see what he ends up leveling. Okay, it's stun second. That's kind of what I thought as well. Leveling stun second on Renekton, personal preference that I prefer never to do. In every match, if I'm winning or losing, almost every time I will be leveling up my dash. It reduces the cooldown on your dash by, I think it's 2 seconds, a significant amount. Renekton's one of his main problems as the game goes on is mobility, and one of the ways that you harass someone down in lane so they can't do anything is just being extremely mobile. Having that up more often will let you go in and harass more with it. It'll let you do more damage if you hit them with it, obviously. It'll have it up more often so you can use it more aggressively, but still have it up in time to get away with it. Getting the stun leveled up doesn't give you as much advantage in comparison for just how much utility leveling the dash gives you, in my opinion. Oh, that's not good. Also, especially since you're not leveling the stun, if you are, or so not the stun, sorry, since you're not leveling the dash, using your double dash to wave clear a minion wave is effective. Using the empowered, using the rage, the fury, on your second dash is less effective. Rampage. If you're trying to wave clear a minion wave, it's, oh, I tagged onto the wrong one. If you're trying to wave clear a minion wave down, it's always more effective to use your Q in almost every scenario. Until you have your E leveled up as well, because your Q is the main thing you're leveling, so it does more damage, and then that damage is amplified. Dashing through the minions with your first dash, if you're a 50 rage, is fine because it doesn't spend any fury, and then use your Q before you use your second dash, and then use your time it before your Q to make the most efficient use with that time it animationing. Will give you the most damage for the same amount of time and the same skills used. Shut down. Yeah, so right there. I am informed that Hunkleberry, the one taking this lesson, hasn't played too much Renekton and wasn't aware of the time and combos. So that's something that can be improved on, which I'll point out again in this lesson. Using the time int before queuing will let the animations overlap each other, so you just do a big burst of AoE damage all at once. Using the time int after stunning will cancel the stun animation. So they're still stunned, but you're able to keep auto-attacking them, casting spells, and continue to fight them. So making use out of the time int animation canceling or animation overlapping is really effective. That was a little telegraphed. That was a little telegraphed there. Ulting before you go in ultimately tells your opponent that, yes, I'm going to go in on you. Prepare yourself. So that would have been really bad. Galio didn't have his ult up, but might have been able to get something out of it if Galio wasn't aware that that was happening. That was close. Could have been more effective with the timing as well, but like I said, we'll let that one slide because they weren't aware of it, so now they will be aware of it, and that is extremely effective on Renekton. One of the reasons the timing, it's really good on melee bruisers, but one of the reasons it's extremely effective on Renekton is just that interaction with his skills directly. So, I'm assuming he'll go back now. Got the tower, that's good. Now it might be time to start looking to roam pressure other places on the map. Their mid lane's down as well. So at this point, it depends on what he's planning on doing. If he's going to go back top lane, buy at least 2 wards, possibly 3, and possibly a pink ward. A pink ward is permanent. If they find out it, it'll obviously die quickly, but it'll give you permanent vision in the spot. If you hide that ward sneakily, it can give you vision for far longer than a green ward, and it'll also give you the added bonus of letting you know that no other wards are in that area because of its true sight. So, if he was going to go top lane, he should have bought those wards. If going to group up with the team, it doesn't hurt to bring some wards to the party and ward for your teammates as well. Anything, like I said at the beginning, that gives your team an advantage. Doesn't have to necessarily be you, but something that gives your team an advantage or an enemy team a disadvantage will always be looked fondly upon. Janna's making some questionable decisions. He didn't get his second activation of the dash. Looked like he did. It just must have just not quite tagged Janna. So Fizz might be able to get out of there. Renekton should be able to kill Yi. That's good. A Another thing, furthering into the Renekton mechanics, the use of dash. Hitting the double dash is good. Oh, I don't even know what's going on over there. So the fight's just split all over the place. He was saving J4, so that's fine. Fizz probably shouldn't have been where he was right there. The double dash, using it as quickly as you can, will give you that element of surprise. But if you are not going to, it's not always most efficient to, if you get a reset on it, use that reset right away. Keep in mind, let's see what the exact time is here. Hitting an enemy grants the ability to use dice for 4 seconds. Okay, so I thought it was 3 or 4. I wasn't sure the exact time. But it's 4 seconds. So after hitting an enemy doing damage with that dash, as long as it hits and registers damage, it'll let you use the second one. It actually hits a little bit behind you, like where your tail is, so you can hit enemies behind you and still get that reset. You have 4 seconds now to use that second dash. Using the second dash will spend Fury if you are above 50. So if you want to get another spell off, get that spell off for the empowered bonus before you use your second dash. You can use other spells in between using your second activation of your dash. So I can dash in, I can stun, I can time and Q, I can auto, and then I can dash again, as long as 4 seconds hasn't passed and I got that original reset. Giving the double dash, spending your Fury on it will shred armor of the people that you dash over. However, it's in a 1v1, I find it usually more effective to use an empowered Q or an empowered stun. Because the stun locks them up there, does a huge chunk of damage, locks them up there so you can beat on them longer. The Q obviously does a lot more damage, AoE, heals you, all that good stuff. In a team fight, sometimes if you can shred a lot of people's armor and you have a good physical comp, that's really good. And a lot of times when in a team fight, if you start a team fight with near 100 rage, and then your ultimate's still generating your rage, you can start getting a lot of empowered abilities. Especially if you're hitting a lot of people. Yeah, can't dash through the Azir wall. That guy. But yeah, his dash is down approximately forever, because it's what he's leveling last. So getting into these team fights, you'll have your dash maxed eventually, but getting into these mid-game team fights, not having that dash being the second thing you're leveling is reducing the cooldown potential on it by a lot. And also building a Brutalizer second is quite nice, because it gives you that 10% CDR, so you can use that dash even more often. I'll go back to some things that I was seeing in lane while we're just kind of positioning around, stalemating here. Janna, he's waiting there for Janna to come out of the bush, I'm assuming. His Fury is going to start dropping down. Now he doesn't have anything empowered. This might be warded as well. Yeah, it definitely was. So that was nice. That was nice there. He might not have been able to get on the Caitlyn, so going for Janna is not the worst. Focusing a support in a team fight that Caitlyn's going to be able to get off a lot of autos if you don't focus her. Usually better to focus the AD, even if you don't kill him, just to get him out of the fight. But that was just taking a free kill, so take what you can get. But in lane, the dash mechanics, knowing that you have 4 seconds to use that second dash, probably be better to get the tower here. Very smart choice to get the tower before going to Azir. Unfortunate that he missed that, but was still able to kill it. Using the dash in a team fight, or not a team fight scenario necessarily, just in lane, dashing in just to hit them with the Q, especially if you have like over 50 Fury. Dash in, you might not get into auto attack range, meaning you can't stun them unless you use your second dash, but if you use that second dash, it puts you really far away from safety. So if they're able to outtrade you on the minion wave, like we saw Galio do in lane earlier, that's not a good thing. If they have a jungler waiting there, that's not a good thing either. If you dash in, hit a Q and then dash out, or dash in, hit an auto a stun if you get close enough, Q, and then use your other dash to get out. That keeps you right where you wanted to go from where you started it, unless you get interrupted or you've let the dash time out, which you shouldn't. So if you're getting jungle ganked in that scenario, you're back to safety, or relative safely. Say you're dashing from here, dash him, hit Galio, dash back. Here's a lot safer than dashing in right here, and then getting jungle ganked. So you don't always have to use both dashes aggressively. It's a lot more effective in a lot of situations to use one of the dashes defensively after you've done your full combo. That's obviously not if you're all-inning. If you're all-inning, you probably want to use them both quite offensive. but just to poke them down to the point where they either have to choose if they want to risk dying, even on tower, or have to go back. It's really effective to use the second one as just a disengage. Alright, looks like they're going for a dragon. In this scenario, it's too late. For whatever reason, maybe he didn't know when dragon was up, maybe he was choosing to split push. Oh, fantastic. Fizz got the dragon, and he's not even the jungler. Wonderful. Regardless of how that fight goes down, there's no way this alligator is going to get down there in time. He does not have the translocate ability, so he has to stay top lane. Got some good damage onto that tower. That tower's not going to regen, so that'll be there for later. That's good. A lot better than trying to walk down there, having that indecision, getting there after the fight's over, and then being like, damn, I should have been pushing top lane. Lots of times it's harder to see what you should have been doing, but that time was good to stay up there. This is kind of risky. He has no flash. Could have played that slightly different. Could have played that slightly different. Let's watch the fight again. Where's my thing? Oh my god, I suck it. How do I get my middle console back up? Interface. Where is it? Hotkeys. Interface. How do I get this up? Show scoreboard. Toggle spectator HUD. Oh, that's not the one. That's not the one. Oh god, this is embarrassing. Come back. Show scoreboard. Oh, there we go. All right, now let's go back. Now that was devastating. Just absolutely devastating. All right, where's Renekton dying here? All right, here's another thing just for planning on Renekton. Okay, so he dashed in there. Very fortunate and lucky that he got the Alpha Striking Yi to hit him. I don't think that should have given him a dash. I didn't think it would have done damage to Yi. However, it did register as damage, so he has the double dash. All right? His ult is still up. For one, his ult is still up here. He could have ulted when he went in there and been doing extra damage. Dashing in this direction or dashing from there to that direction. Has his stun up. Azir has no flash. He didn't know that necessarily. Has his stun up though. If he was able to get into range of Azir, what's his movement speed? 387, 364. Being a melee character, you usually have higher movement speed anyway. Even with the boots 1, he's faster than Azir. Also has boots 1, but Azir boots 2 would have been about the same speed. Dashing to Azir. Dashing over here, Caitlyn's relatively healthy and a relatively safe range away. Knowing that he doesn't have a flash, there's not much he's going to be able to do to that. Once again, having that ult up earlier would have been more effective. Dashing into Azir here, Q's coming up right away. How right away is right away? Pretty right away. But instead, walks over to there, and Azir ends up dashing to that minion. If Azir, however, would have dashed to that minion over here, Caitlyn would have probably been too far to start shooting right away. Azir would have tried to pull through, hit Renekton, got a shield, but then Renekton would have been in stun range to kill him. And then maybe been able to walk away from Caitlyn because his flash was coming up in just a couple seconds. I think it was just a couple seconds. I don't know. Either way, he would have been able to trade more than likely rather than going 1 for 1. He might have been able to go 2 for 1, or best case scenario, 2 for 0. And possibly outplayed Caitlyn because his Ignite was coming up. I was wrong about the flash, but possibly outplayed Caitlyn with the Ignite if Caitlyn continued to face check into a bush once his dash came up. Alright, where is this dude? There we go. So, going for a relatively defensive build. When I say I build a lot of offense on Renekton, I go Spooky Knife, Ghost Blade, after or before finishing a Hydra. I usually get a time it first. I like to build that on Renekton, and I always explain why when I'm streaming. But since there's not on that build path this game, no need to. It's all on the option of the person playing it and how they want to be playing. For if you want to go more offensive, it's not necessarily wrong to build more tanky. It's just going to affect what you can do and get away with later. Obviously, you can take more hits, but maybe not be as mobile or have as much damage. The build that he's going, he built the Spectre's Cowl because he's against the Galio. That's not necessarily bad. There's an Azir on the enemy team that that Cupcake was ineffective. That was a dud. The Spectre's Cowl gives a nice little bit of health, a nice little bit of sustain on the passive of it when he gets hit by magic damage. Doesn't necessarily need to finish that into a Banshees or a Spirit Visage at this time, so going for the Randuin's next is pretty effective as well. Not having to build a Sunfire this game because it's so late already. Don't necessarily need to build that. That team fight just went horrible. That was less of playing the team fight wrong, and probably should have not just played the team fight at all. Fizz wasn't even there. Jarvan was mid. Also, that was ill-advised. So let's speed up the spawn chamber here. Speed it up, speed it up, speed it up. There we go. Our savior is back. Walk up. So this is the part of the game where it gets confusing for a lot of people, and one of the biggest top lane questions, or most frequent top lane questions I get asked. SickMotion, when do I split top? When do I group with the team? And there's no exact answer to that. That's why I never can really answer it, and that's why it's such a permanent question, sorry. Splitting top right now wouldn't be the worst. Dragon's up in a minute 53. So there's no real objective down there. They can probably defend that. They can probably defend that. If you're going to split top at this point, since there's no objectives anywhere else, you're not going to be needed, but either is their team. So they might just try to come and execute you publicly to make an example out of you. So you may 100% want to buy some wards before going to split push. But right now would be a good time to split push because that tower is really low. Remember how we got it low earlier? Now I can go and finish it off. As a matter of fact, though, those minions are probably going to finish it on their own. It looks like they are. It does have a trinket ward, though. Could have dropped a trinket ward in that bush right there as he was running up. But Galio is pretty low here. How low is that tower? It's pretty low, but it has the shield. The minions can hit through the shield. You can't, so don't get caught out by that. Jarvan being top right now, not very necessary. This is one place that Renekton can just push up by himself. Building a Sunfire makes it hard to split push if you're just 1v1ing because you can't go and hit the tower for free without drawing turret aggro by accident by damaging them with the Sunfire. That's not toggleable. However, if you don't have that Sunfire, he can ignore Galio's damage as long as there's still minions there and walk up and just keep hitting the tower for free. This was a good rotation back down though. That flash was unnecessary in my opinion. Could have just delayed that flash out. It was a flash to stun a Janna, stun a support, that wasn't going to die from that stun. Could have used that flash later on to maybe kill a Azir, kill an important target, or get himself out of a not so fortunate situation like he found himself in. The rotation itself was good. The overall teamfight execution by everyone could have went a lot better. The overall map knowledge and rotation knowledge generally is pretty good. The warding can be better at this point in the game. The warding in lane was pretty good once again, but the warding right now could be better. At this point in the game, buying, say, a... how much money does he have left? He has 45 gold. Buying that Null Mantle, not the worst, but I probably wouldn't have bought the Null Mantle. I probably would have went for 3 green wards and a pink ward. Just give a lot of vision control and a lot of vision advantage to your team, especially if you're planning on grouping up, or if you're planning on splitting for that matter. Having wards down will be a lot more effective. That'll definitely keep him alive in a fight a little longer, but the amount of times that I've seen one ward winning or losing a game, as opposed to one null magic mantle winning or losing the game, is quite heavily in the favor of the ward. And then buying 4 of them, because you can place down 3 plus a pink, just amplifies those ward chances of being the greatest. Okay, what's going on here? So he is grouping up. It's kind of like stalemating here, and that was an amazing fish. It's kind of stalemating here, so really he could be the one pushing top. Jarvan's the one pushing top, so him not pushing top, it's more effective for him to push top because he's probably stronger than Jarvan, and Jarvan gets more money out of farming the jungle with the jungle item being the jungler. It's a lot of jungling. Misfortune farming bot, not the worst. 80 carry getting farm, not the worst. Let's check at the farm numbers. Renekton's at 145, Galio's at 129. That's not that high. and not overly uncommon for not being in lane for this long. Double dash here, yeah. That's a good time to use the double dash. No need to hold on to the dash right there. You're just trying to get out of there. He's getting caught. Could have been avoided by Renekton having wards. Or anyone putting wards, but Renekton could have bought the wards, is what I'm saying here. Having wards is just like really important, whether you're team fighting, whether you're grouping, whether you're split pushing, whether you're not doing anything. Just knowing where the enemy team is will give you advantages and give you opportunities to make plays. One thing that's interesting to do is go into the advanced stats after a game. Team killer. Friendly fire is turned off, thankfully. Go into this team advantage, or the team portrait after, go click in your match history in League, it'll open up a window, and then you can go and check in the statistics how many wards everyone's placed and bought during that game. And one thing you'll notice as the quality and higher tier of the game goes up, for the most part, not necessarily 100%, but higher level games will have placed more wards. They will have also cleared more wards. Ward clearing and ward placing is really low in this level of game. One thing I'm going to point out right now on that subject, there is 0 sweepers in this game. Not a single one. The support has a Sightstone, opted in to keep the ward. The support who has the Ruby Sightstone also opted in to keep the ward. So unless they like just watching their wards die because they can only place 3 down, this can place 5, that can place 6, or unless they're just going backpacking through the mountains and they're not planning on coming back to the base for like a year, you don't need that many wards. Supports in general should always buy, or anyone who has a Sightstone for that matter, unless you're playing like Jax or Lee Sin and you really do want all those wards because you are just wasteful with your warding. You have to have some sweepers. Think about how effective vision would be right now if every ward you place lasted full duration, unless seen by a pink ward, which I wouldn't be surprised if no one has bought a pink ward either with that under emphasis on vision. You don't have to be the best player in the world to take advantage of someone being out of position because you can see where they are. And you don't have to be the best player in the world to notice that someone's coming to kill you and simply leave. So there really needs to be more vision control, and if your support's not doing that, if they're not at the level of play they should be, unfortunate for you, but you can still make up for some of their mistakes. I'm not saying you have to go top lane, rush a Ruby Sightstone, buy a sweeper, and then start sweeping on cooldown. But if you buy a sweeper and start buying some wards, oh my god, he has wards. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. But buying pink wards as well. It's more well known, and I guess in higher games, if it's not happening at this level, placing wards in bushes like that bush right there, that would be a neutral ward, a neutral pink. Right there would be a more defensive pink. That would be a very defensive pink, putting any pinks in your jungle bushes. That would be an aggressive pink right there. You can put an aggressive pink right there. Bushes that are going to be checked more often or are deeper in enemy territory are more aggressive. Just because they're aggressive doesn't mean that they're going to die quickly. If you see someone going to clear your pink ward, you can go and defend it. And if you can just pressure them off of it, that'd be very effective. However, I know this is Renekton's lesson. Everyone on his team could take the advice, though, is buy some wards, someone get a sweeper. It doesn't even have to be upgraded. Upgraded sweeper will clear you a lot more wards, but it doesn't even have to be upgraded. Just someone buy a freaking sweeper, please. Okay. What else? What else? Back to that statistics things that I was talking about. You can see how many wards were cleared that game as well. So you have a good idea of how much of the vision was actually being effective. And just because you place a ward and it gets cleared doesn't mean that was a wasted ward. That was a sweeper that they used, and maybe they missed another ward because of that. You can't just opt out and be like, I don't really want to place wards because it'll just get swept. Because then the enemy teams are already winning. And then teams like this who don't buy a sweeper can don't get punished for it. Right there, when Renekton dashed and was going to dash away from Galio without hitting him with his second activation of the E, could have queued with the empowered Q, because he was going to use that rage regardless if he wanted to or not, that second dash activation. So use that that Q before dashing. Get a little bit of extra damage, maybe get a little bit of extra minions if you're there. At this point in the game, this is excessively unorganized. And the reason being, no one has vision and no one has sweepers, but no one needs a sweeper because no one's placing vision. I do this a lot as well, which is awful. Renekton's sitting on 2 wards with only 1 ward placed. Place the wards down. You bought them, might as well place them. It's like, it's good that you bought the wards, but you have to place them for to be effective. It's similar to, I have 3,000 gold in my inventory, but I died. Yes, that's because gold advantage doesn't matter until you spend it. Wards don't matter until you place them. But it's nice that he did buy them, and I'm not saying that's like an uncommon thing. I always buy wards and then forget to place them every game. I've been trying to work on it for 5 years. It still happens. It just feels like everyone's running around not knowing what to do because there's no vision. And the reason they don't know what to do is because they don't know where to capitalize on. If you don't know where the enemy team is, like look at Janna was top lane. Bam! Why is Janna top lane? She's farming. Caitlyn's down here. No one knows where anyone is. Janna probably has killed herself, but no one knows where anyone is because no one has vision. And although it's not your job to have vision for the entire team or clear vision for your entire team, if you're helping, it will help. And if you're the only one doing it on your team, it'll be very noticeable because one person doing it as opposed to nobody doing it. See that ward right there? Good thing it was placed. However, if there was a ward there earlier, they could have been pushing somewhere else or setting up a trap for them. Speed it up here. This is kind of the awkward stage that a lot of people get into, not knowing how to end a game. And the #1 way to end a game, as has been the topic for the past ever, is knowing where your opponents are so that you know when you have an opportunity to go in. Eventually, someone's going to fall asleep in their keyboard in a 40-minute game like this, and they're going to walk into a place where they shouldn't have been, or they're going to lose focus for just a second. And knowing that they have gone to somewhere they shouldn't be, you can either catch them or catch their team knowing you have an advantage. Right now we're just playing ARAT, all random, all top, and we're just fighting for the sake of fighting. This fight's really split. I think they're gonna win it, but the reason these fights are so close is because this isn't a strategic fight. This is just a gamble. This is 5 players going up to fight 5 players. Turning off your monitor and wondering who's going to come out ahead in the end. You need to add the strategy to it. No one's like super fed that they can just carry this fight off. The fight's awesome. It's a 2v2 now. 3 people are dead on each team. MF opting in to die to the tower. Now it's a 1v1. Like this is super exciting from a spectator standpoint, but it's very unorganized. Warding will avoid this, and a lot of the time, like, no matter how much you ward, no matter how much you do, your team won't know what to do either. But we really need to get this. They feel like they have an advantage. It's exactly 57 to 57. But just finding an opening, especially with how little vision there is in this game, shouldn't be too hard. This is one of the only games I've ever seen at any level that's just not going to have a sweeper all game by the looks of it. So Renekton's just building really, really tanky, which is fine. The way he's playing the team fights is just diving into their backline, so you're going to want to be tanky for that. If you're planning on just diving and like soaking up damage and distracting for your team, and just being like a big nuisance, building tanky works out really well. Renekton has pretty high base damage, even building this much tank. So all teams not knowing what to do still are opting in to just walk top. It's the battle for top lane. Someone's pinging mid, which is good. Who's pinging mid? Why is this so far over here? Oh, it's not gonna tell me who's pinging it. Like there'd be an opportunity to go in and probably flank them right here if they had vision. But the enemy team's kind of like, it's kind of hard to just do a direct lesson on Renekton right now, because after lane phase kind of gets into like a team fighting perspective. They won that team fight pretty hard, which is good. 4 people on the enemy team are dead. This is the time they can pressure. This minion wave conveniently is pushing up mid. Let's go here. click on Renekton. So they should be able to get a tower out of this. They're down for a long time right now. However, Misfortune didn't get the memo that it's time to take a tower. She's still in the all random, all top mode. Your AD carry generally going to be doing the most damage to towers. If you know that Galio is going to ult you, kind of hard when you're auto-attacking the tower, but if you see a Galio come in, a couple characters that can do this. Garen is one of them, can activate his Q. Udyr can just stay in bear mode as long as he hasn't stunned Galio in a while. And Renekton can turn on his stun. Anyone that does a stun or a silence on their next auto-attack type deal will be able to simply... Galio taunts them, so you're like, okay, I have to attack this dude now. You walk over and you stun them. And then you stun them out of their ult because they ulted you. Because you're forced to attack them, but you cancel their ult by attacking them. It's glorious. Hard to do it though when you're trying to hit the tower, but it would have been better to probably just turn it on just to hopefully do it. Your stun won't stun the tower either, but there's just a certain amount of time that Galio wouldn't be able to taunt you, but your stun won't spend itself on the tower. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit because I've been kind of explaining like the warding situation and whatnot over the past little bit because nothing's happened in the past 20 minutes. All right, we're coming up here. We got the dragon. Didn't know where their team was. Didn't know where our team was. No wards to see anything. All right, this is good. This is good. Renekton actually was able to get behind their team, chase them out of the fight, and don't really want to tank that tower. But that's a numbers advantage. Azir's dead. Janna has to go heal. Unfortunately, the Azir tower is up here. If someone, God forbid, had a sweeper, they could go and sweep Baron right now. That vision is going to be just giving you vision there. However, there's ways to get around that. Maybe not with this team. Jarvan, Fizz, and Renekton can all go over that back wall. Enemy team sees that on the ground and thinks that they have Baron under control, that they'll have to walk over. But if you dash over the back of the wall, he doesn't actually see into Baron pit. So Yi's right there. We can see that Yi's there. The only ward on the entire map, conveniently, is seeing Master Yi. So once again, putting it into the hands of gambling.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Also, one thing that I noticed that I didn't say anything about here, Galio or Renekton probably could have had a better time in lane if he didn't have 28 AP. So I'm guessing that that was a wrong rune choice. At this point in the game, doesn't matter that much. However, it might have mattered at this point in the game if he snowballed ahead further because he had the proper runes or masteries. I'm assuming that's runes though. If he had the proper runes and masteries on in lane, might have gotten stronger in lane, able to get more of an advantage so that he would have been stronger right now. But at this point, it doesn't matter too much. I just know some people might have picked up on that. All right, we're starting team deathmatch number 42. All right, Janna's out of the fight. No need to be focusing on her. Caitlyn completely completely dead. J4 might finish her off on his own, so that's good. But Janna just escaped. Chasing a Janna usually ends in Janna escaping. Master Yi at the bottom here is able to take the tower and all the confusion and the lack of warding. Gets the inhib as well. He's dead, but he got something out of that. There's just no direction to this game once again. Having a teleport would have been really effective for Renekton. He could have teleported back to there or to somewhere and maybe been able to save the inhibitor. I'm actually curious to how many wards have been placed this game and how much vision has been cleared. Oh my god. J4 has a sweeping lens. Not upgraded. Upgrading, it's very effective. You can sweep one bush behind you, not in the direction that you're going, to know if there's a ward there, and then walk in an opposite direction and cover a large period of time and large span of land. If you don't see any wards there, don't fret. That's not the end of the world. You know that there's no vision there, and you can now start doing cool things in that area. You can start baiting there. If that's Baron or Dragon, you can start it knowing that no one's coming. They might be on Baron, they might not be. Like, their whole team might be AFK at this point. No one knows because there's no vision. Okay, so Never thought I would see that glorious red laser this game. A pink ward, often more effective in Baron, because once a Baron ward gets cleared and the team is fighting over Baron, everyone starts going crazy to trying to ward over the Baron pit. A pink ward will give you permanent vision there. That Banshee's Veil, stopping that Azir wall, was really good. So the Banshee's Veil is really nice. Looks like they might. The enemy team's lack of vision has bit them in the ass. If the blue team had better vision, this could have been avoided this entire time. Yeah, getting this turret's really good. The fights are just going on all over the place. Might be able to kill Yi there. That was good. There's a lot of super minions walking into the base of the blue team. They actually lost a turret from them, I think. I don't know. I didn't see. I think that's the only way that that turret died. They should be able to get this. Not necessary to ult on this tower. Getting the extra Fury doesn't make him do any extra damage to the tower. If he was going to die to the tower, rather than ulting for extra health, walking off to not die is also an optimal response. Okay, so they got two towers there. They got to back away here. This is the part of the game where teams throw really hard when they get really low. The enemy team spawns. They have that extra movement speed buff in their base and home guards possibly. And then the team that had an advantage now gets killed, and now the enemy team is pushing back. It's just a rubber band effect that you don't want to end up happening. So snap back onto Renekton. What is he going? He has that Banshee's Veil, which is helping him stay in the fight and not get pushed away by things like a Azir wall, which is really good. Looks like he's going for... See, this is an over-defensive build, even in the terms of building defensive. He's sitting on almost 300 armor, almost 200 MR. If you wanted more MR, your damage just isn't that effective. You're getting to the point where you can kind of get ignored by the end of the game. Building a Maw rather than a Spectre's Cowl into a Spirit Visage, the cooldown reduction is not bad. I think a Maw would be a lot more effective, or this is a time where you could go for possibly a Banshee's Veil. Going in right here. He knows Fizz is there, he knows Karma's there, he knows MF is there, he knows J4 is there. Given, like, the fight doesn't look like it's going too bad, right? But the enemy team either could have walked away. It could have went a lot worse than that. They are closer to the opponent's base. I realize 3 are dead right now. But starting that fight by yourself could have been risky, but the enemy team didn't back off. This looks like it might be the end of the game though. So more or less this game in lane, the things that I saw in lane, similar to the first game, just making use of the farm. If no one's denying you that farm, don't miss the farm. A lot of the farm wasn't necessarily getting pressured off of the farm or trying to avoid damage to stay in lane and just at least get experience rather than missing experience and gold by going back or dying. It was just missing gold and farm because he was auto attacking down the wave, just off rhythm, so that his auto attack wouldn't last hit it where the minions would. Vision control that game. Everyone in that game could use a lesson on vision control, but just because no one else is doing it right doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it right as well. I'm not saying that you were going out of your way to not do the vision control. It's just something that you might have not been focusing on. Buying, always having a pink ward down is a good rule of thumb. Just try to always have a pink ward down. You don't necessarily have to have one down buy one if you already have one down, since you can only place one and you'll kill your other one, unless that other one is not in an advantageous position anymore. Say like 2 towers are down on top lane and you have a pink ward in that bush right there. You might want to move that up a little bit. But always having a pink ward down. Imagine if everyone on your team always had a pink ward down. That's 5 wards that could be possibly down at one point, and the enemy team's going to have to be trying to clear those. And that's a lot of vision control it gives you as well, because you'll be able to see their wards as well. You'll know that not only do you have vision of that area, but they don't, as long as the pink ward could have seen it. Buying a sweeper later on in the game, that yellow ward on most champions isn't going to be as effective as a sweeper, or in the other hand, an upgraded sweeper. One of the things about an upgraded sweeper is if the enemy team has any champions with stealth mechanics, Akali, Twitch, Shaco, Wukong, Rengar, Just anyone who's going to stealth to either juke you. We're good with the LeBlanc passive as well as the Wukong juking. Anyone who's either going to juke you or initiate from stealth or try to run away with stealth, the sweeper completely negates that. Vayne, I can't believe I forgot Vayne in that example. So having that upgraded sweeper will help you in that case as well. Teemo shrooms, things like that. But mainly wards and vision control for the most part is the thing that you'll be doing that for the most. So just making sure to just look at what your team has. If everyone on your team has a sweeper, you don't necessarily have to buy one. But in most cases, I like to have a sweeper unless I'm playing like Jax or Lee Sin, and I get more advantage out of having a ward because of my skills interact with that ward better than having a sweeper. Let's see, what's another example here? Just buying wards, buying green wards. If you can only place 3 wards down at a time, mousing over your trinket ward or a green ward will tell you how many wards you have placed. So if you already have 3 placed, unless they're in crappy locations, you can not place wards for the time being there. But other than that, just the ward control, and I guess working on the build a little bit. Didn't need to go too defensively, but other than that, really good. Just work on the farming. A little bit of Renekton mechanics there, as well as the time it mechanics could be worked on a little bit. But a lot of things to work on, which is good. If you're doing a lesson and you're not getting anything to work on, then you're like, well, I know I need to improve, but what do I improve next? So a lot of good things to work on.